You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Once Upon a Time After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Once Upon a Time After Show.
Hey everyone, Bing is for doing, and we are doing another after show right here, right now on AfterBuzzTV.com for Once Upon a Time Season 2, Episode 5, titled The Doctor, and it is our very special Halloween episode. Yay. I'm your host, Cathy Kelley, and joining me tonight is...
Hi everyone, I'm Tiona Hobson.
And then running the ones and twos.
Hi everyone, I'm Marisa Serafini. Engineering again.
Yes.
But that's okay.
But she got to watch this week, so it's all good. We all have a lot of things to say about this episode. So let's start off with overall thoughts.
I thought that tonight's episode was so good.
Yeah.
There's so much information. I remember we were talking, we're like, oh my gosh, we're already through like 3 pages of notes, and it's only like halfway through the episode. We're only at the 30-minute mark. So a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of little details that hopefully we picked up on all of those little tidbits.
Yeah, I wrote a lot of notes today for a regular episode. Yeah.
I have 6.5 pages of notes.
Are you
Granted, I write very big, and it's chicken scratch writing, but I do have 6.5 pages. So
it was like, those are...
Oh my God.
it's pretty ridiculous. And if you're not watching us on YouTube or on AfterBuzz TV, then you can't tell that we're actually dressed up in our Once Upon a Time Fairy Tale Land garb.
That we are.
Tiana and I are both the Red Riding Hood, our own renditions. And then Marisa.
And I'm Regina. This is my take. This is Regina and Storybrooke.
Yes.
Not
very,
evil queen.
very much like a mayor of Storybrooke right now.
And I actually almost came as, well, first I was going to be Snow White, and then I couldn't find my costume from last year. And then I was actually going to be Dorothy, which would have been very fitting. I want to talk about that later in this episode, because we have some Wizard of Oz predictions.
Yes, we
but
do.
Let's jump right in. The episode started off with being in present-day Enchanted Forest. You know, Emma's there, Snow's there, Mulan, Aurora, and Killian Jones.
Which I'm surprised his name is Killian, because Captain Hook, we all know his name is James Hook.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what's up with Killian? Just another moniker?
Yeah, I think it's just another name. I mean, we see that so many characters have multiple names in this show, so maybe it has something to do with that. But we see, you know, the tower is destroyed. A lot of people have died, and it seems like it's at the hand of Cora. There are a lot of missing hearts, and, you know, Captain Hook is the one guy who survived.
How convenient.
Even though, yes, we all know that it's fake, and, you know, he was just kind of fake hiding in the wreckage, and Emma's actually the one who sniffs him out.
Yeah, because she has that thing that, going back to season 1, where she can tell if someone's lying, which kind of makes me question why she didn't sniff out Pinocchio
Yeah.
and Cora imitating Lancelot.
Yes.
Because, you know, that was kind of a lie. I know she was pretending to be someone else, but maybe her powers.
But Emma didn't really know Cora, so it's not like she could
she doesn't
really make any... Well,
she doesn't know Hook either.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's right.
I think there are a couple people who I feel like maybe it's the magical people who she can't tell if they're lying or not. Maybe. Or she's not as in tune with it. But she does have a very good, you know, sense of reading people.
Yeah, she reads people very well. That's kind of what her whole thing was, the bail bonds huntsman
Yes.
person.
Well, she's good at it. So then we jump back to Storybrooke, and Dr. Whale, it starts out with Dr. Whale gets punched by Charming, and Charming just jumps right in and says, "This is for sleeping with my wife." And
That was kind of awesome, though.
It
But-
was.
Whale retorts, "Which one?"
Yeah,
I love
mean,
that.
He's like,
Catherine?
Okay, so did he sleep with both of them?
Yes.
Well,
No, but we realize that it's with Snow, and this is when they were cursed, so he didn't really
So-
know that he was overstepping on Charming's girl. But
I love the fact that the curse is their excuse for everything. Oh, I couldn't help myself. I was under the curse.
yeah.
I mean, it is kind of an excuse. Like, think if everyone in the world had amnesia, wouldn't that be kind of like a free pass? Like, you wouldn't know.
yeah.
You would not know at all.
Yeah, you wouldn't know, so you definitely can't hold that against them. But for some reason, Charming really does not like the fact that Snow was with someone else, and mind you, he was married to someone else. So
True.
clearly, he had his stuff going on too. After he woke up from his
Yes.
coma and stuff, there was a period in time when they were trying to live happily as a married couple. So
Well, now the
Beggars
curse is
can't be
lifted,
choosers.
thankfully. Yes, exactly. He can't see his own faults.
yeah, and I think it's interesting too, because in this scene, Whale's like, "Oh, hey, like, the whispers around town are that you're trying to look for a portal to get back. Like, does that mean the lands are there?" And something that Charming said was, "I have no secrets from this town," and I thought that was really interesting because he's trying not to keep secrets. Meanwhile, Regina has secrets. Rumpelstiltskin has secrets still. Dr. Whale, at this point, no one knows who he is, so he has secrets still.
Well, clearly all of the pure characters
Are trying to.
are trying to be the best possible people they can be. They don't want to have any secrets.
Yeah, I thought that was very good of him to point that out, kind of in a way like, I still don't know who you are, but I don't have any secrets. You're the one with the secrets.
Yeah.
So it's
true.
kind of like putting that in his face.
Yeah. Then also in Storybrooke, after we see this interaction between Whale and Charming, we see Regina. She's kind of trying to get help, and I know that Tiona and I both mentioned during the episode while we were watching, it's kind of like Regina's 12-step program. She's like
It is.
kind of an alcoholic with magic, and she's trying to become a better person. She says to Archie, she says, "It's been 2 days since I've used magic."
It was a total AA moment, but you could tell that she was being sincere. She's like, I'm trying to keep my promise to Henry right now and not use magic, but clearly it was kind of killing her a little bit by not doing it. You could tell she was kind of fiending for the magic. She was like, "Oh, it's been 2 days." Like,
She's
I
got the
love
shakes.
Yeah,
that.
she got the
And
shakes.
I mentioned last week that Rumpel has the same problem, because he's addicted to magic too. If only he was in the 12-step program, I mean, the world would be a better
Yeah.
place.
Who
Storybrooke,
wouldn't
at
be
least.
addicted to magic? I mean, it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have it. Everyone wants to stay pure with their magic using, but
Yeah.
I'd probably use it.
But again, it's very nice to see that there is still good in Regina. She isn't
Yes.
completely lost to magic.
But Regina did say something that magic is the only way that she was able to get the things that she wants,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, which Archie comes back with. It's also the way that you've lost everything.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that two-way street of,
Mhm.
yeah, magic is the way I'm getting everything, but it's also the way you're losing a lot of stuff. So maybe it's time to try to get things without magic.
All magic comes with a price.
Oh, magic
That it
comes with a
does.
price, and magic is power.
Yes. We've heard that so
So
many
many
times. I
times.
can't even count it. But during Regina's therapy sesh, Dr. Whale storms in, and he kind of demands that Regina sends him back. We don't really know where, whether it's the Enchanted Forest or it's some other land. But he wants to go back, and we find out that it's to go back to bring his brother,
Yeah, he wants to go back to his brother.
which I don't know. Throughout this entire episode, I was trying to rack my brain to figure out who his brother could be. Maybe some fans have some predictions or more insight on, you know,
Hopefully.
who Dr. Whale slash Frankenstein slash Wizard, which I want to talk about later in this episode.
Yeah.
What wizard means.
Mhm.
But
And like what happened to his brother that he ended up dead, where he had to use not magic but science to try and bring him back.
And the thing that gets me is just, this might be going ahead a little bit, but Frankenstein was built out of different parts of different people. So if it's his brother, then is it really his brother or just a bunch of people put together?
yeah. And we do see that later in the episode. We don't really know whose heart is being used, and that could play a role in, you know, whatever monster is created, you know, their monster personality.
Yeah. I was thinking that too, like just because you're taking a heart, like if that person was not a good person,
If they were an evil
if
person.
they were an evil person, then you know you're putting this evil heart into maybe possibly a pure body. So
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it with Daniel a little bit. You know, I think that's part of the reason why he came back as like a zombie
Monster.
crazy monster.
Or maybe that's just, you know, how Dr. Whale's magic or science works.
Probably one of the repercussions of using magic to bring someone back to life. Like you can't just escape death like so easily like that.
And I mean, there was no other way. Rumpel said that there's no way that magic could bring back a person, and it's clear that it doesn't really work.
But then this might be jumping ahead too a little bit. But then you know, towards the end, you see that Rumpel kind of had a purpose for everything that he does, which is
Which he
always
does.
true.
Yes.
Yeah, he always has a purpose. But you know, it's like what's he sort of using this for
Yeah.
now?
Well, we'll talk about that more in a little bit. I just want to mention before we move on to our next topic that if you're not watching us on YouTube or on AfterBuzzTV.com, then you can also listen to us on iTunes. If you just go to the iTunes store, type in AfterBuzz TV, you can find our Once Upon a Time podcast as well as a ton of other podcasts. We have about 50 shows for our fall lineup and then a ton of past seasons of other shows. And we love to bring you free content. All we ask is that you subscribe, rate, and comment because we love hearing, you know, your feedback. Then also tell a friend. But we did get a lot of great feedback this past week.
We did. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so thanks for everyone who did comment. On iTunes, we got several comments this week, and mostly positive. We do want to continuously improve. So if you do have some feedback, whether it's negative, positive, please let us know. We did get a few people, like NZ Mommy said, great job, gals. And Cal Rakin said that he likes us as the new hosts. And he has actually commented on our YouTube. So thanks for that.
Yes.
Commented and on iTunes.
Yes. YouTube and iTunes. So
Which is awesome.
yes, more love for us. So thank you for that. It's really, you know, fans like you who keep us going.
Yeah.
And
We really do appreciate it. We read it every week, and we're trying to get better for you guys, so let us know.
yeah,
Yeah, and I do just have to say, because I am a producer here, so I'm going to exert my authority right now, that for all of you who don't know, that because of season 1, Once Upon a Time here at AfterBuzz, we kind of got lower ratings, and Phil and Kevin, who are our executive producers here, we were actually going to axe the Once Upon a Time AfterBuzz show here, like completely pull the plug. But I convinced them that if we found hosts here in LA who are enthusiastic about the show and loves the show and really want to talk about it, our new season 2 would be awesome. And here we are. And because of you guys, the listeners and the watchers, it's because of you guys, your rating and commenting and your constructive criticism, which we love, is the reason why we keep doing this show.
yes,
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
yes.
So we're excited to be here for season 2, all new hosts, and
Yes.
you know, hopefully you enjoy the podcast. And again, thank you for commenting and subscribing.
Yeah.
We
So.
love it.
Yeah, back to the show. I know that was a long break, but hopefully you stayed with us. Back to the show. We saw the repercussions, I guess, of bringing back a person from the dead. But then we also got to see a flashback to old Enchanted Forest where we see how Regina originally gets her powers from Rumple. And this is something that I've wanted to see pretty much since we learned that Rumple was the one who gave Regina her powers or showed her how to use and harness her magic. And we saw this incident where he's teaching her how to use magic on a unicorn. First, I wanted to say, I don't think I've ever seen a black unicorn.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I thought that they were white because they're supposed to be pure and... So is that
Exactly.
an evil unicorn? Can you have an evil?
Well, Rumple did say during this this scene that not everything is pure. Regina said that she didn't want to hurt it because it's so innocent, and he said nothing is completely innocent.
He did say that.
So maybe the producers or the writers were trying to prove a point that, you know, this particular unicorn had done something awful.
I mean, they take everything, like even the storytelling, you know, they do it their way, their version. They don't really care what the normal retelling of the story is. So maybe their take on the unicorn is that it should be black.
Yeah. Well,
I thought it was interesting that they chose a unicorn to kill because there's always that. Well, maybe I just learned from Harry Potter, but I guess that when you kill a unicorn, you become cursed.
yeah.
And so, like, just killing any unicorn, whether it's good or evil, would
bad.
have repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is what Harry Potter taught us.
Yes. And it seems like it kind of happened in this episode where we did see Regina become evil Regina. Not because of this incident, but because of losing her love and whatever else. I want to talk about that whole change more later. But one of the things that I thought was interesting about this particular scene with Rumple and Regina was that he mentioned first how Regina's mother was so, I guess her calling or her thing, her shtick, was to take out hearts. And Rumple was actually the one who showed Regina how to do that. And it was through this unicorn. He said when you take a heart, it becomes enchanted, and you're actually able to control the being. So that's why, I guess, Cora and Regina have kept all of these hearts instead of crushing most of them.
Yeah, because, I mean, you saw that with Sheriff Graham, kind of in the first season. Regina had his heart and kind of controlled him a little bit in Storybrooke until, you know, he decided to forge his own path, and then she crushed it.
And it also explains why the heart glows.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they take it out, not like a regular heart. Oh, it's
That's
bleeding.
bloody
And
and-
all
Yeah.
yucky
And,
looking.
and from season 1, we did realize that you can actually squeeze the heart and cause pain to the person, and then, you know, you don't have to
you
crush
have to
it.
crush it completely. You can
Yes.
just kind of toy with them a little bit.
Yeah. But in this scene, Rumple did make, or, you know, tried to force Regina to crush the unicorn heart.
Yeah, and I think that it was really good to show how she couldn't do it. She was like, no, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. She's just so anti this evilness because she doesn't want to be her mother. She is clearly after using magic for a different reason other than why her mom used it.
Yeah, and Rumpelstiltskin actually asks Regina why she wants to learn magic, and her response was she wants to use magic to bring back the dead, which upset Rumpelstiltskin. He was not very happy with that answer.
Pretty much just to bring Daniel back.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's been her entire goal up until that point in her life. But he said that magic can't do that, and thus introduces this whole scene with Jefferson, the Mad Hatter. He brings in this crystal ball to Rumple, and we think this might be a portal. It is a
Something
portal.
important
Yes.
for him.
But Rumple asks for slippers, and we actually had to watch this scene like 2 times
And
to
then
figure
turn on
out
the
what he
subtitles.
said. Yes. He did say that he wanted the
love
slippers,
subtitles.
which made me think about Wizard of Oz and Dorothy's red slippers.
Instantly. And the crystal ball, because that's a part of the Wizard of Oz story as well. You know, like looking into there. And so I think that the crystal ball could be used as a portal.
Yeah.
But maybe he also needed the slippers
Well,
to...
we hear that Rumpel wants a way to get to a land without magic. And we know that that's where Bay is at that point in time. So we think he's trying to find a son. And it's also revealed that the hats can only transport people to lands with magic.
Yeah. Which helps to clarify a few things, especially for people wondering why, like, Jefferson couldn't just jump over to Storybrooke and jump back, even if he had his hat and whatnot. So I think that clears it up that you have to go to a place with magic. And since Storybrooke doesn't have magic, but Storybrooke has magic now.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you think the hat can still go to Storybrooke now that there is magic around?
Oh.
I think that might be a way that they get between the lands and maybe how Snow and Emma get back, if that's not too prediction-y.
I think that they're still gonna have to use the wardrobe ashes to get back, or someone may use the hat to get to the Enchanted Forest.
I think there's going to be several different portals all working together. Like, they have to go through one portal to get to another portal to get back to Storybrooke or something along like that.
Yeah, because the portal business was kind of confusing.
It's just trying to find all the portals. We know now there's slippers somewhere. They haven't been found yet or revealed yet.
But they did say that they were already moved to another land.
Yes.
So that might be out of the question, because if it is Dorothy, she goes back to the land with no magic in the slippers. So
she goes back to Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas.
Which might be near Storybrooke. I mean, it's in the same world.
the same
Storybrooke's in, like,
but
the New England area.
Yeah. Well, maybe we know that there are a couple people who can leave Storybrooke, so maybe they can hop on a flight to Kansas.
Okay.
Somehow. But this is an important scene because it's where Regina first meets Jefferson.
Yes.
And we realize later that it's actually orchestrated by Rumpel. He wanted them to meet each other. And Jefferson tells Regina about this mysterious man who can bring back people from the dead.
The wizard.
Yes.
The wizard.
He calls him the wizard. And we realize that this is actually Dr. Whale. Finally, it's revealed who Dr. Whale is. He is Frankenstein, and he's also the wizard, which we think might be a reference again to Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, because all this was happening at the same time, where he's like, let's just call him the wizard. And it's right after, you know, he has this crystal ball and there's no slippers to go with it. So everything's kind of pointing in that Wizard of Oz realm right there. So,
and also in the story of Wizard of Oz, we know that the wizard doesn't actually have magic. And in Once Upon a Time, Dr. Whale doesn't have magic. He has science.
Yes.
So.
And Dr. Frankenstein, if you're familiar with that story, Frankenstein's obsessed with science. That's like his whole creation, everything surrounding science. Because Dr. Frankenstein, he was always fascinated with life, science of life, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I just want to know, who do you guys think Dr. Frankenstein or Dr. Whale's brother is? Do you have any insight, or? I couldn't figure it out.
At this point, I'm racking my brain trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I can't, because the only little part we saw was his body parts kind of stitched together, which we know that Frankenstein used lots of body parts, but that doesn't help me think of a person.
So I really don't know who the brother is, because if it's Frankenstein, then we know that it's a body consisted of several different parts.
Yeah.
So.
Marisa, I know you said that you think that the bald guy was Igor. I thought that it wasn't, just because I think Igor looks more decrepit, a little hunched over.
A bit more, mangled.
Yeah.
But it is Once Upon a Time, so they could go with a lot of different interpretations.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
just, he is probably Dr. Frankenstein's, you know,
Assistant.
assistant,
Yeah.
which is, you
Which
know,
is
Igor.
Igor.
Yeah, which
yes.
is Igor.
Okay. Well,
Right hand man.
we'll talk more
Amigo.
about those guys later in our after show. Jumping back to Storybrooke again, Regina reveals that Daniel is not dead, but he's frozen. Or he is dead, but he's frozen. And she's back in therapy with Archie, and he says, if you can't let go of the past, it'll haunt you. Haunt you, because it's a spooky episode. And we see this glimpse of Daniel in this glass coffin, very similar to Snow's coffin.
Yeah.
And then we also see this cute interaction between David and Henry. And David brings Henry to the stables, gives him a horse, and says that he wants to train him to be a knight. But the way that he trains him is not by putting him on a horse, it's by letting Henry horse sit. And he says that you can't be a knight until your steed trusts you. And
Which is fitting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's very like one of those typical parent moments where it's like, okay,
Grandparent.
yeah, grandparent moments where it's like, okay, you got to kind of teach the kid responsibility.
Yeah.
So it's giving him a little bit of responsibility and letting Henry know that his voice is being heard, that he wants to help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what he was kind of complaining about a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to help. Listen to me. Listen to me. So this is Charming's way of letting Henry know, I heard you. Here's what we're doing. When your grandma and your mom get back, you're going to be the best knight in Storybrooke.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cute. And a reference to a knight, so. And Lancelot was a knight, too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, do we think that princes can be knights? Because Henry technically is a prince.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Because-
Princess.
I mean,
No,
they do get the same
Prince-
training.
Yeah, Prince, they have honor, but they're always, you know, because they're in the public eye, they're always taught, you know, chivalry and how to fight and how to protect a kingdom,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Well, maybe in a few episodes we'll see Henry fighting for his mom and his grandma.
On his little pony.
Awesome.
Which ran away, though.
Yeah.
So hopefully he
He
can
comes back.
wrangle him or find him again. But while we're still in Storybrooke, we see David goes missing. Or not David, sorry.
Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah, Regina thinks she kind of sees him in the rainstorm as she's driving. Can't really
Yeah.
believe it, and then
I couldn't believe it
Yeah.
at first. I thought that she was just seeing things or dreaming or something,
yeah,
since
I was
we have had dream sequences, but she wasn't. I mean, he was alive.
He was alive, and she actually
and
saw what
kicking.
she thought she saw. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know she even kind of was thinking like, it couldn't be, could it? And so that's kind of why she rushes over, checks out her mausoleum,
Yeah.
where she's been keeping his body in Storybrooke. Kind of creepy.
But
after all
she
these-
keeps Daniel in her family's mausoleum.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And, another good thing is that Regina said that she brought back people that she wanted.
Yes.
And it was Daniel, so I thought that was another interesting point.
Mhm.
There
But
could be more people.
Yeah. Who
A
knows
lot
how
more
many more
people.
people she has locked away down there.
it's definitely interesting to figure out and piece together who she wanted and who she didn't. And you know, why she brought over certain people, why she didn't bring over certain people. Mulan, Aurora, Philip kind of
Yeah.
got shafted, as did Lancelot, and he paid the price for it. And then clearly she didn't bring her mother.
Good
But
riddance.
I mean, what is her reasoning? What do you think her reasoning is behind bringing certain people and leaving certain people behind?
I think that she just didn't want to let go yet. I think that she has this connection with Daniel where she still believes that she can get him back because that is the happiest times of her life. That's before her life took this giant change and shifted into this dark, evil place.
Mhm.
So maybe she's still trying to hold on to a little bit of that innocence that she once had.
Yeah.
It's
I
hard
agree
letting
with that.
go
Yeah.
your first love.
Yeah, but it's interesting because we do see Dr. Whale, and he says that you can't, like, he didn't think that you could bring over the dead, and that's why his brother's still in another land. So Regina finds Dr. Whale in his, what is it, not a laboratory, but in his office, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it was at the hospital,
Yeah.
but I put down laboratory
Yeah.
just because I had the feeling of the Dr. Frankenstein feel.
Exactly. we all thought it last week.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of predicted that it was Dr. Frankenstein. But he brings Daniel back, and Daniel is a monster.
Daniel took off his arm.
He rips off his limbs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was like, there was body parts everywhere. I didn't know what belonged to who at
Yeah.
that point either. So you just see him lying on the ground when Regina finds Dr. Whale, and I was just like, what body parts is he missing? Because there's so many spread out across the whole table that it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time got dark for a second.
I mean, it is the Halloween episode,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
kind of expected.
A little bit.
But the Hatter, once we go back into the old Enchanted Forest, I have such a hard time keeping track of, like, which land we're in. But I always try to write it down. So we're in,
You're not the only one.
yeah, we go back to old Enchanted Forest, and Jefferson takes Regina to Whale / Frankenstein / the Wizard, as I have written down. And you know, we see this experimental procedure actually being performed on Daniel, and we think that this is, you know, he's actually trying to do it. We realize later that he didn't perform any procedure as per Rumpelstiltskin's orders, but he says that he needs a heart for this. Regina takes him and Jefferson to Cora's vault with hundreds of hearts. I mean, how many hearts do you think she took in her time?
There was a lot of hearts in
lot.
there, which the whole time when we were seeing those, I was thinking of you and
Queen
your
of Hearts.
the Queen of Hearts. I was like, oh my gosh, everything's pointing to this woman being the Queen of Hearts
Yeah.
with her obsession right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Regina tells Prince Charming that that Cora, it was Cora. She caused a lot of pain. She was a monster. She's a sociopath. She is a freaking sociopath. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So
At the time, Regina kept referring to her as was in the past tense. So does Regina think that she killed her mother?
I was gonna say something along those lines. I think she knows that. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
Cora
she got
isn't
rid of
there
her.
anymore. But she doesn't really know what happened to her. Whether she, I mean, I think this is before they realize that there are other lands, but they're just starting to realize that there is potential, because Whale says in this scene that he came over from a different land.
Yeah.
And
it's something that, and this is when Regina's meeting Jefferson for the first time, so clearly it would be the first time she's hearing about different realms that you could hop around to as well, so that makes sense that she wouldn't know exactly what happened to her. Besides, I pushed her through a looking glass, thinking, oh, okay, that's the end of her. She's trapped in there forever, but maybe it just transferred her over to Wonderland.
Yeah. And then another interesting quote from the scene from Regina was, "I will not use magic for evil." Pure Regina.
Yeah.
She's
So young.
so young.
and
innocent.
innocent. Yes.
Yeah.
Little did she know, in about 15 minutes, she would become an evil witch with a capital B.
I wrote that quote down too, that she refused to use magic for evil, and I was just like, wow, she really was trying very hard not to be her mother.
Yeah.
And then something clearly happened that flipped a switch in her mind set that was like, okay, over this now, got to do things the magic way, because that's the only way to get things done.
I think it was, because Dr. Whale couldn't bring back Daniel, or,
Yeah.
in quotes, couldn't bring back. He didn't try at that time.
Which, another thing, watching that scene when he was trying to bring Daniel back, if I was Regina in that situation, I feel like I would have wanted him to do more, because all you really saw him do through the shadow of the tent was lift his arms up and then, like, smash the heart down. And then he just walked out, like, instantly right after that. Oh, sorry, it didn't work. I was like, I kind of expected more, like, a bigger hoopla
We'll try
behind
again.
it. Yeah,
I'm
like
I
there
have
are
millions of
bunch
hearts.
Yeah.
there are a bunch of hearts. Just try another one.
yeah, he said
Yeah.
this heart was too weak. It didn't take. Okay, well, my mom's got a vault full of, like, hundreds of thousands of hearts. We can try them all. We'll be here all night if you need to.
Yeah.
I just felt like it kind of was given up too quickly, that, you know, she lost hope in that
Yeah,
aspect.
you don't, stop on the first try.
It's all part of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, we realize that Rumpelstiltskin's actually the one who, as I said, orchestrated this whole thing. And I thought it was interesting that with all the magic that Rumpel has, he needed these guys to get a heart from Cora's vault. Why couldn't he just go in there and get it himself?
That's a good question, because he's the one who taught them how to do it.
Yeah.
He clearly has his own stash of some hearts if he needed it. And he wouldn't be certain which heart Regina was going to pick unless he had been down there before, because I believe it was Dr. Whale or Victor, whatever the doctor is who he is back there. I think he's the one who picked out the heart. So unless Rumpelstiltskin was down there before and told him
Yeah.
which one to go for.
But if it's not a specific heart, if he didn't need a specific one from the vault, then why wouldn't he just take any random heart from, a person or a unicorn or
Anything he
Yeah.
needed. So yeah, that's a good question to raise. Like, whose heart was that?
Yeah.
And what's the importance behind Rumpelstiltskin needing it?
Yeah.
Because they're not labeled. Because if you see the vault before in like season 1, Regina knows which heart belongs to who, and so there's no name. We don't know who it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
But she knows.
But she knows.
Or Cora knows.
Yeah.
Someone knows.
Someone knows.
Maybe that's why Rumpel didn't take it, because he needs Regina to know whose heart it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, then he'd be unsure which one she took. Maybe he had a hunch.
Rumpelstiltskin just knows everything. So
He
we're
is
just not gonna put
all-knowing.
it past him.
Kind of like Oz.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I thought another cool thing about this scene was just piecing together the timeline of this show. Now we know that this scene happens sometime in between Regina getting rid of Cora and becoming evil,
Yeah.
which is a very small time frame. I mean, it must have been like the matter of days that this happened.
Yeah, and at this point she's married to the king because she is the queen. So that means Little Snow's somewhere running around at this point too, as is her father. Is her father alive still at this point?
Mhm.
What we're assuming? Okay.
Yeah. Henry Sr. Yeah, it's different. I don't know.
It's very confusing when they jump back and forth to Cora's story, because you never know at what point the stuff is happening, so you kind of have to piece together the in-betweens. Like, okay, so clearly she's married now, she's still missing Daniel, and it's just confusing sometimes going back and forth.
Because in Storybrooke and in present day Enchanted Forest, we know that timeline is completely, moving
Straight.
forward.
Yeah.
And whenever we go back to the old Enchanted Forest or any other land for that matter, we don't know specifically what time frame this happens in. I really want to put together a timeline of, the old stuff, and hopefully maybe it's on the internet somewhere. I'll have to check. If anyone out there who's listening knows of a timeline that
Or
someone's been
created
putting
one.
together. Yeah, or if you've created one, let us know.
Yeah.
You can
us.
post it on our YouTube page or on iTunes, or tweet it to us, and I'm sure I'd love to see it, but we'll definitely respond, because that would be huge. One of the other things I had written down was this whole scene between Rumpel and Whale. Rumpel put back Whale's arm.
Yeah.
What's on right now? The very scene that
Oh,
we're...
that is
For those of you listening on iTunes, it's on the very screen
Yes.
note.
So, Rumple, we realize that Whale is kind of not a servant, but he helps out Rumple. And they've done a deal before, and this is the second time where Rumple and Whale are kind of helping out each other.
Yeah, it was interesting to see because you really haven't seen them interact in Storybrooke
Mm-hmm.
much before this, and him kind of coming in and Rumple being like, well, I want to know like why you brought Daniel back to life, and Dr. Whale's kind of like, well, I thought that if I helped out Regina, she would send me back to my brother, and it comes back to his brother again. It's like clearly everyone who we've met here, they have that fuel that is firing them up to do things. Like Rumple runs on the fact that he's trying to find his son. That's why he does stupid stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
We find out Dr. Whale has a brother, and that's why he's doing stupid stuff like bringing back a dead person and letting him run wild through Storybrooke for a minute there.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's just that same pattern happening again of like you have someone who they've lost in this curse who they're trying to get back to.
Everyone has their reasons for either doing good or doing evil.
Yes.
And Karori, our other regular host here, who
Our missing
couldn't
host.
join us tonight, she just told me that there's a timeline on the ABC website.
Oh.
So maybe we should check that out.
Then I will definitely check that out. There's actually a couple interesting games and stuff like that on the website as well,
Yeah.
which were pretty fun. I've checked them out very briefly, but I do want to look at that timeline. So, Whale talks to Rumple about bringing back Daniel, and we also see Daniel heading to the stables. Regina and Charming kind of figure out where Daniel's heading, and Henry is there alone with his new horse, of course.
Of course.
The kid's just so cute and trusting too. You know, the horses are freaking out, which is kind of one of those
Signs.
rule number one.
Yeah.
If the animals are freaking out,
Right.
get out of there.
A storm's
Yeah,
coming.
a storm's coming. Something bad is about to happen if the animals are reacting like this, Henry.
Animals always know.
Yeah, they always know what's up. So Henry's just kind of like sitting there, and the horse, poor kid, he's so small. The horse like high kicks him.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
like out on the ground, and then in walks this stranger who's dressed in like old school garb. I mean, if I was a kid and I saw him walking in, I probably wouldn't be like, hey,
He looks like he's from the 1800s.
yeah. And Henry's like, are you okay? Like, are you safe? Are you hurt? Can I help you?
Mhm.
And he doesn't say anything and just goes for the chokehold. And
Which is very reminiscent of Frankenstein.
yes,
It's true.
and it's reminiscent of how what Cora did to him,
Mm-hmm.
because it was that arm out, and I think it was Henry's gesture out to him that kind
He had
of
a flashback.
the flashback
Yeah.
of her doing that. So he's like, oh no, I got you this time.
Yes. And of course, Charming and Regina arrive right at the exact moment and save the day. And Regina says that she won't use magic to subdue Daniel, which I thought was interesting because you would think that her whole goal is, you know, bringing him back and making him be safe, that she would put a hold on this. I mean, if she's using magic for good, it's justifiable.
You would think that. What I took out of it was that, one, she didn't want to hurt Daniel because she just got him back, and two, she didn't want to break her promise to Henry
Mm-hmm.
because she's 2 days sober of no magic, so you know she doesn't want to have a relapse already so soon, and especially with Henry being right there. I just took it as it was mostly in honor of what she had promised Henry. Like, I have to figure out how to solve this without magic.
Yeah.
It's also back to what Archie told her. You know, magic may be what brings you everything, but it's also what destroys
Yes.
everything. And ultimately, when she does decide to use magic, it is to destroy Daniel.
Yeah. And I mean, that happens after he puts her in a chokehold. And
Yeah, he won't hurt me. Let me just talk to him. I'll just talk to him real quick.
Nope.
Yeah.
there
Nope.
was that sappy moment, which true love can break the curse, Regina says, "I love you," and he kind of drops the monster mode, and
Kind of lucid for a moment.
yeah, he remembers everything, but he says, "Let me go," because he's completely in pain. So it's now apparent that even if you bring someone back from the dead, there are repercussions. They can't live a happy life again. They're hurting.
Definitely. And his last words to her, because she was like, "No, but I love you," and he goes, "Then love again."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, like this was his way of letting her go so that hopefully she can let him go
Mm-hmm.
and move on to find her other happy ending, whatever it may be.
I just had a aha moment, which makes me feel really stupid for not realizing it earlier, but the heart that she probably took from the vault was Daniel's. Unless
No,
Cora
crushed
crushed that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Never
But
mind then.
it was a good moment.
Yes. But moving on. Wah wah. Okay, I didn't get that prediction right. But yeah, so
At least you're thinking.
Cora uses her not Cora, Regina uses her magic after Daniel says to let him go. And it's very hard for her, but she makes him disappear, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
She didn't freeze him. I mean, I guess truly letting him go is
Not putting that spell back on him to kind of keep his body preserved, the preservation curse that he was under for years. She didn't do that. She actually destroyed him.
Disintegrated.
Yeah, disintegrated him.
Gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no coming back from that, because what they do a lot in this show is make you think people are dead, and then somehow they came back from it, and I really don't see any way of him coming back from that. So if he pops up again, I'm gonna be mad.
I think he might pop up in a flashback or two,
Flashback
but
I'm
I
okay
don't
with.
think that he will be in the present day Storybrooke or Enchanted Forest anymore.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
So,
hopefully.
I like, after this interaction, she goes back to Archie's office, and she goes, "I used magic." Like, again,
The
it's
whole,
like a sobriety thing.
but at least she's admitting it, and you can tell that she's really taking it kind of seriously with wanting to not break her promise to Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually liked the soft side of Regina because we can see that she is still a good person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she really isn't like her mother,
Yeah.
and there is hope for her. And I liked seeing her soft side, her vulnerability, and I think that's something that we can just look out for in the future if she
Yeah.
does become good.
But at the same time, while we did see that scene where she's trying to become good, the scene right before that was Regina becoming evil. And it's when, she goes and finds Rumpelstiltskin and she takes out the heart of his new protege, which was pretty intense.
Yeah.
I mean,
She just walks up like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And Rumpel says, "I had to find someone else to train."
yep.
And Regina was just all, "Oh, really?" And sticks her arm out, takes the heart, crushes it all
Boom.
almost in like a single motion. And going from someone who was so against doing it at first, earlier in the episode, to that, and she came out, and like Cathy mentioned when we were watching it, she was dressed in her all black look.
Mhm.
And that was the kind of start of it. And she walked out there owning it. Just, "I'm gonna crush this heart, and you're gonna train me, and
Yeah,
we're gonna
and
continue doing
and going
this."
off the wardrobe, because I was going to bring that up, because the first time we see Regina training with Rumpel, she's wearing some armor, which is some dark, but she's also wearing a white shirt underneath, so they're still like good and bad. And now that she killed the protege, she's like literally all in dark.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's always easy to tell when she's nice Regina and evil
Right.
Regina, because of the white and black ensembles, which I always love.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I want to talk about is present day Enchanted Forest and continuing with Emma and Snow's storyline. So just finding out who Hook is and Cora and his plan to get back to Storybrooke, Emma senses that there's, he's
Something
lying.
off.
Yeah, that something's off. And she actually says, she ties him to a tree and summons some ogres, which is kind of like holding a gun to his head, the equivalent. And he reveals himself as Hook, as Killian Jones. And he reveals the entire plan as well. He says, Cora wanted me to gain your trust. And he tells them about the ashes to the wardrobe that have, that
They're
are
still
enchanted. Yes. And he basically barters with them and says, you need to keep me alive, because he's the only one that knows where this enchanted compass is that can, in conjunction with the ashes, help them get back to Storybrooke.
Yeah, and I saw it with Hook. Part of me thinks that, I don't think you can ever fully trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I don't think that Emma and Snow kind of talk about, well, we know that Cora has tricked us before, so as long as we're aware that they might still be tricking us, we kind of have one foot up on them. But what I don't trust about Hook is how fast he gave away the whole plan. Because, okay, yeah, there's ogres who are going to come kill you and you're in a tight spot. But to give up the entire plan that easy, especially from someone like Captain Hook of all people, I don't think that's very trustworthy information. The compass might be a legit thing that Cora may or may not know about. It may be a plot for Cora didn't want to go up there and get it herself. So she's going to have these guys go retrieve it for her.
Yeah. I don't think that Hook has any allegiance or alliance with Cora. I think it was more just a means to an ends. She can help him get what he wants, which is, as we find out, we kind of knew this, to exact revenge on Rumpelstiltskin. And he admits that to, Emma, Mulan, Aurora, and Snow.
It's like, I'll make a deal with you guys. If I help you, you have the promise to take me back with you so I can get my revenge. Which was another thing in this episode, is that for one of the first times we see other characters besides Rumpelstiltskin making deals.
Yeah.
And I never thought about other people. You have Jefferson, who makes a deal with Regina kind of to get a royal passport if he gets her man's heart going again. And then you have Captain Hook, who's now made the same deal with Cora that he made with Snow, Emma, Mulan, and Aurora.
He's kind of like a double agent.
Yeah.
He's working both sides.
He's just trying to get to Rumpelstiltskin.
I wrote down.
Yeah.
I was like, he's working for two people.
I don't think that he will remain faithful to their deal.
No.
Like, if there is an opportunity presented where he's the only one who can get what he wants, he will seize that.
Yes, I agree with that. He also, there was a moment earlier when he was first meeting them that Hook said, that Snow was like, oh, I only got 5 minutes with my husband and my grandson. And he kind of was like, oh, you have a grandson. Like, he seemed very interested in that. And that's when Emma kind of cuts him off for the first time and is like, well, no, you don't need to know anymore. But I thought that was something to kind of point out, because I think it might come back later. I don't know how.
Do you think that Captain Hook, thinks that the grandson is Peter Pan, or is it just he's interested in little boys? I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of got the feeling after watching that episode with Lancelot, where you go back and watch it and realize the little things that Cora kind of had her hand in playing Lancelot, him asking about the family, the follow-up question.
Yeah, I picked up on that too.
Just really alerted something in my mind of like, make note of that, it might come back later.
I thought it was interesting that as closely as he and Cora are working, she didn't mention that, because she did know that Snow has a grandson.
And maybe that's how it'll come up, because maybe he's thinking, oh, Cora didn't mention that she's got a step-great-grandson.
This is probably the only thing that happened while time was frozen. I mean, Emma grew up and had a kid. No one knew that because time was frozen.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. of course, they introduce another storyline at the very end of this episode. The magical compass that they need to find is up a beanstalk. And
Of course it
there's
is.
a giant
Of
at the
course it
top, which, you know, if we all remember this story,
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack and the Beanstalk.
It was his mom. They sold their goat
Yes.
for a bean.
I thought it was cow.
It was a
Oh, a
cow,
cow.
or a
They sold
goat.
a cow for
Um,
like 3 magical beans.
Yeah, for 3
Well,
beans.
he's
so-
supposed to get money so that they can pay for food and, you know,
No, got beans
He
instead.
gets magical beans instead.
yes.
And then he goes up there and there's a giant. And wasn't he trying to steal
A
a
harp.
harp in
A
the
harp.
original? Or in one of the versions?
Yeah, it was an enchanted harp. I
Yeah, it
believe,
was an
too.
enchanted harp.
Maybe we'll see that.
We'll probably see an enchanted harp. I want to think that the magical beans are similar to the magical beans that Bay used to get to, you know, leave the enchanted forest when he
Yeah.
was trying to get him and Rumpelstiltskin out.
Yeah, because I remember when that episode first aired in season 1 with Bay and the beans and the portal, when the fairy was like, I have these magical beans, I instantly thought of Jack and the Beanstalk, and then clearly that was wrong.
Like many of our predictions.
and then it was like a portal, and so I still was thinking, oh yeah, he dropped down there, and then there's gonna be the beanstalk, but I
But
wasn't
now
right.
they did introduce the beanstalk. They might all come around again. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of questions that were answered this episode, and just like every other episode, there are a lot more questions presented.
Who is Frankenstein's brother?
Yes. Who is Frankenstein's brother?
Whose heart did he take?
What is
Yeah.
at the top of that magical beanstalk
Besides a giant.
besides a giant? Well,
Will they ever get back to Storybrooke?
will they? I
Yeah.
think they will.
Yeah, they
But
have to.
my question is, how long do you think Emma and Snow have been stuck in this enchanted land? Because for us in real time, it's been 4 weeks, but for them would be 4 days.
I think
Or
it pretty much moves at the same pace. That's
Are we talking about the time in Storybrooke and the time in the
Enchanted
yeah, like
Forest.
how long has
The
Snow
parallel.
and Emma
Yeah.
been stuck in the
That's a
other
good
land?
personally, I think that it's the same timeline, but it might be different.
I like to think that it's been the same amount of time
Yeah.
for both ends,
J-
but I think that time could also, I mean, it is a
Yeah.
fairy tale show
Yeah.
where you could have that the enchanted land, maybe one day there is 1 week in Storybrooke,
Yeah.
The
or
only
vice versa.
the only way that I think that it's the same, or the reason why I think that it's the same time, is because they were both frozen for 28 years, and that was the same time frame.
Yeah.
But we'll find out,
We'll
I'm
see.
sure. So let's move on to news and predictions.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Okay, so for some fun news, casting wise, it was just announced that Ethan Embry is going to be joining the cast as a recurring
That's awesome.
role. If you don't know, he is most famous probably for Can't Hardly Wait,
Mm-hmm.
90s baby. He's also
Cheers, baby.
was Rusty in the Vegas Vacation movie for National Lampoon.
And
he-
he just
yeah, he was just
appeared
in
in
Grey's
Grey's
Anatomy.
Anatomy last week.
So I was like, ABC is bringing Ethan back apparently.
Awesome.
Go you guys. The details about his character are being kept secret. As of right now, we just know that he's going to be a visitor to Storybrooke. So we don't know if he's going to be magical or non-magical, because another tidbit that they announced over the summer was that there will be someone visiting Storybrooke from the outside world who's completely nothing to do with the curse and everything. So could be him, we don't know.
Yeah.
Also, in next week's episode, titled Tallahassee, we get to learn more about Emma's backstory and what she was like as a teenager. The mystery man from the very first episode, he's in this episode, and his name has been revealed. His name is Neil. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, his name.
Gotta give me a second.
My bad. His name is Neil Cassidy. And as of right now, I can't find any hidden meaning to it, but I did look up Neil Cassidy. He was an author and poet, He was a major figure of the Beat generation in the 1950s and the psychedelic movement in the 60s. And he was also the model for the character of Dean Moriarty, I'm saying that wrong, in the novel On the Road.
Cool.
So,
Interesting.
So he's an author.
yeah, so he's an author and poet.
Did it
and
say if he fathered a child named Henry?
It did not say anything about that on Wikipedia.
Darn
but,
you, Wikipedia.
Curse.
letting me down. Yeah, that's all the news and gossip I've got for now. But I thought that Neil Cassidy, it's like, okay, see how he's connected. Is he Henry's father?
Mhm.
Is he
Well,
a fairy tale character as well? Or
I think we should segue into predictions then.
okay.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Too bad
So-
we don't have our, glass ball. It would be really fitting for
Oh
this
yes,
week
to have our
with
crystal ball.
Halloween.
So next week we see the previews and we learn more about Emma's past, as you said, and a lot of people on YouTube and actually on our iTunes are predicting that we find out finally who Henry's father is, or we at least kind of get a hint at who he might be.
Yes. And I'm gonna go along with some of the predictions that I've been reading online, that the mystery man is Henry's father, and that he's Peter Pan as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which would also
Mean
it
he's
may mean he's Bay, because I'm also sticking with the fact that Bay is Peter Pan.
I think that one of our listeners wrote in, I think a week ago, and he said that the author is actually the author of the book. So I think that he's that. I think he also might be Peter Pan and Bay. I don't think that he's Henry's father, though. I think that that might be a different character. Maybe someone
Maybe.
from Emma's past. So.
I still don't know. I don't know. I don't know how exactly Snow and Emma are gonna get back, but like I said earlier, I think there's gonna be several different portals that are involved. But my friend Cindy, she actually mentioned the magical heart. Could it be for the Tin Man?
Yes, I forgot
Oh,
to mention
yeah.
that because the wizard said, or Dr. Whale said that he needed a heart.
To
To-
complete the process.
Yeah, and obviously in the Wizard of Oz, the
Tin
wizard gives the Tin
Tin
Man
Man
a heart. He gives the lion courage.
Yeah.
He gives the Scarecrow a brain.
Mm.
So
Interesting. And another thing, which is kind of a little bit different, what's gonna happen to Red, Ruby?
Oh yeah,
and
she's
her. I mean, 'cause it's been 4 weeks already, and well, for us, for
Yeah.
Storybook, will she turn into a wolf
yeah,
soon?
she
But now that they're in Storybook, is the
it
magic
gonna
still
be-
gonna? I don't know.
another
or
spoiler.
has she learned how to control it a little bit
Yeah.
better?
Maybe. Does she have
She-
the red
well,
cape
she
then?
has. Well, she in an upcoming episode they're gonna have one based on her. That's all.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
say.
That,
Okay.
I was thinking
It's gonna
about
be
that.
based around.
Another.
She's gonna be
episode
the
based on her.
featured
Another-
person of.
Hopefully that'll answer more questions.
So I think
that
that might
have.
answer
Yes.
a lot of your questions.
all right. All right.
They're
can
usually
do
good
that.
at answering questions. It just takes them a while.
Especially with the cast growing, because they're bringing in so many new characters that you kind of have to put the regular ones in the back corner for a little bit
Yes.
and
Back
to introduce
corner.
and then bring them all back in together.
I don't think they need to introduce anymore for a while. Just like stick to the
Wait until
characters
season
they
3.
have, answer some of those questions, and then introduce maybe some more.
Yes.
But hopefully the payoff with all these new characters is going to be like mind-blowingly big and awesome. And then it'll all feel like it was worth it.
It better be.
I definitely hope it's all worth it. I'm sure it is. But again, we still have a lot of questions. I know everyone listening probably has a lot of questions, but if you have any predictions, please let us know. We love to tweet, people. Let us know your predictions.
Yeah.
How can they find you,
You
Tiona?
can find me on Twitter at tweet22TWEET. EE22.
And I am at Marisa Movies. That's Marisa Movies. I'm also on Instagram as well. You should follow AfterBuzz at AfterBuzz TV and on Instagram because Cathy and I, we're the ones who actually post the pictures
Yes.
on Instagram. I post a lot of behind the scenes. So for those who like the behind the scenes and stuff, those are the pictures you only get.
Yes. And you can find me on Twitter at Catherine Kelley. And as Marisa said, you can find all of us on Twitter at AfterBuzz TV. So definitely join us for,
More
talking. And again, we do listen to or read all of your comments on YouTube and
iTunes.
on iTunes. So please comment away. But until next week, for all of us here at AfterBuzz TV, thanks for joining us.
And happy Halloween.
And happy Halloween.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.